Well, hello, everybody. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. And we have a special guest on tonight. It is. How's that for a fanfare, Michael? it's, it's Dr. Michael Bratland, and we're glad to have you here, our sponsor for our podcasts. And had a little bit of technical difficulty, but Michael, I think I might have figured out what it is. Is your mic on?
Yeah, what is? Yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn off the phone because you know what it was? Talk to me.
Can I hear you? What?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was operator error on my part. Guess what? I had the sound turned down.
Oh, that's great.
All of a sudden I was sitting there going, I can't hear the open. And I started going like this, going, oh, no wonder that's what Michael was putting off. So I'm sorry you had to put up with that. I'm going on. So Dr. Bratland and I get in a lot of trouble when we have conversations, and we don't mind, we don't care. And Michael wrote me the other day and said, I want to go do a show because you got some things on your mind. A lot has changed since the last time we talked. You aren't afraid to speak out on what you believe, and so why is that, Michael? I mean, at the cost of, some people think, oh yeah, that's going to cost me business because people that don't agree with me are going to go away, and you continue to do it.
Well, it's probably just stupidity. I just don't care. I mean, I care what people think of me, I guess, but especially during COVID, I looked around and I didn't agree with 90% of what I saw, and I don't know. There's certain just common sense things that I don't care sharing, and if somebody has an issue with it, it's their problem, not mine.
What is have you seen all this stuff with the judges? Now, I just saw a district court judge yesterday, we know, tried to hold up the illegal aliens who were criminals. Yes. Going back to or not even going back, but going to a prison. Yeah. Where they'll be where it's going to be cheaper for us to keep them housed, and the judge is trying to stop it. And then what I don't understand is then there are people out there who nobody's answering the question, would you rather have those people stay here and cost us more money and be in our country? And nobody talks about that. They just talk about everything else.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. Actually, I heard that, and I'm like, and honestly, whether they were in the air or not, we needed to deport them. We're not talking about like a good family members. We're talking about people that were criminals, hardened criminals that were causing a lot, like murders and rapes, and I just don't get it. I don't get how you can have a judge in San Francisco or Seattle or Portland sit there and dictate what the president, who we elected, majority elected, and we want change. We all want change right now. And you got to let him do what he's going to do best. And he'll make mistakes, but let him get rid of these hard criminals.
I had somebody write on my page today, well, Judge Roberts gave you your answer to why Trump has to bring those people back. And I thought I didn't really get an answer on that. I think people are not paying attention to what people are talking about. And now I seriously, one just flew across here and I didn't see what it was, but it was another one of his orders, a judge holding it up. I think it's odd to live in a country where we're allowing federal district judges to overrule what the people elect. We didn't elect those judges. They were appointed. And we elected a president to be managing the business of our country.
Yeah, I think it's not a good thing when you have a president that has a huge approval rating right now, where you have these judges sitting there after everything he does, and they sit there and try to keep him from doing anything positive. And we need change. There's a majority of people voted for him, and we need to let him do what he wants to do. And we got to make a change in our society and our government. Otherwise, we're going down a slippery slope. I love Doge. I love the fact that we're cutting. I don't understand why that's a whole nother topic, but I understand why that's not a good thing. Why, when we're blowing money, why would it not be good to sit there and look at our expenses?
I looked at a interview the other day with Barack Obama back in 2011, and he was saying to he was Joe Biden that was then the vice president. He was there, and he was saying Joe Biden's going to take charge, and we're going to go in and we're going to look at every dime of waste, and we're going to find it, and we're going to clean house. And now we have a different president who is actually doing it, and Obama and Biden did very little. And people are the same people that supported Obama are now screaming because Trump's doing it. And I think it's just because it's Trump.
Well, it's funny. The same people that supported Elon Musk, that he was a savior, creating Tesla and all these electric cars, are now shouting that he shouldn't be allowed. And I think he leans more left than he does right, but he wants to go in there just like any business. If you're sitting there hemorrhaging and you're going bankrupt, the courts are going to come in and they're going to make you pay your bills. Whatever money you have left, they're going to make sure you're paying it properly. And for everybody to be like, no, Elon Musk can't do that. I'm like, no, he can and he should. We need to cut down. I thought I had an idea. What if we gave away, because they act like, 50 million, 5 million, 50 million is no big deal. Why don't we take the first 100 refunds that we and give it to taxpayers, right? Wouldn't it be great? What if $5 million is no big deal? See how it affects somebody's life if you actually gave that $5 million to Joe Blow in Iowa versus African country somewhere. It's dumb.
Well, we have Noelle here from Portland, Oregon. She's commenting on YouTube here, and she said she's living in low-income housing, has a child, and she can't get the help that she needs. But if she was drug addicted, she could get the help that she needs. So the state of Oregon is giving money to single moms that are in trouble, that are addicted to drugs, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But here's a woman who's not, and she can't get it, and she totally supports Doge.
Well, I think the thing is, if we can, I'm all for supporting, I'm definitely conservative, but I'm also I care about people, right? Obviously, as a dentist, I care about Oregon healthcare, and we need to be there for people, and we need to be there for single moms. If anybody, we got to be there for single moms more than anybody. And I think that if you're a single mom, you should get help if you ask for it. It shouldn't be that you should just be unemployed. Even if you're working, you should get help. But if we can save money, and we can save money, and we can actually take care of our people and give more back to her to take care of the single moms, that's great. So that's why I think it's important to actually start cutting bad expenses.
How do you feel living in Oregon, knowing that your governor is spending, has $1 million budget to fight any kind of ICE involvement or anything Trump wants to do to get illegal criminals out of the state of Oregon?
Well, what's funny is I have a friend and I won't say his name, but he works for ICE, and he's always said, he's like, listen, we're not deporting, your honest, hardworking foreigner, right? They're trying to get out of the state of Oregon in the Northwest. They're trying to get people that are really bad criminals, like rapists and murderers, and it should be illegal what they've done in the last 4 years under the Biden watch, and even before that, where they're letting people go. The police departments are having their hands are tied too. I'm sure the police departments would love to hand them off to ICE, but they're kept from doing what's right and handing them off to ICE so they can deport these people.
People in Oregon are really frustrated, and I get comments all the time just going, how do we stop this? What are we supposed to do? How are we going to turn this around in Oregon? I mean, they're happy what's going on in this country, but you still got Oregon, and Washington is creating some crazy laws where I've had a realtor tell me they're making way. People in Idaho, realtors in Idaho and Montana are preparing for a rush of people that are coming from Oregon and Washington because of all the crazy ass laws that legislatures in both states are passing right now that are going to raise your taxes even more.
Well, I tell you, I think we had a lot of people leave during COVID, and if they didn't leave during COVID, they're probably sticking around. I mean, we're not leaving. I do love Oregon. I love the beauty of Oregon. All my family's here. I love
You got a
vacations.
business, a
Yeah,
thriving business
I got
there.
businesses. I'm not going anywhere. So I think we've lost the majority of our people during COVID. And everybody that's here, I think, for the most part, are leaving. But it's expensive. Like, I have a son that's would like to buy a house, but it's outrageously expensive. Our taxes are high. We got to change. We got to we got to make a change.
So John Parker just came on here and said the JFK files are now released. And he has a website. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen anything about that. I'm guessing, John, so you've seen them. Is there anything that's surprising anyone? Because I would imagine I'd be seeing things flying all over. I wasn't expecting a lot out of that, but I guess we'll see what happens. Do you one of the things, Michael, that I really appreciate about President Trump is that for the first time and as long as I've been in the news business as I can remember, you have somebody going in and just doing everything he said he was going to do. And I think there's a lot of very happy people in America. The louder ones are the ones who aren't happy, but I think there's a lot of people that are very happy.
I think transparency. I think he's been wonderful of doing what he said he's going to do, and he's also being transparent. And I think that I've always said I don't care if you're on the left side or the right side. I think it's important for citizens to be able to see what our government's doing, and if they're spying on us, if they're wasting money. I want it all exposed. And I think that Trump, because he was a Democrat for a long time. And I think he's surrounded with himself with, I can't believe the left doesn't really appreciate Trump because he's brought in people on all sides of the aisle. And that's what we want. We want somebody that's not so polarized and so, one-sided. I honestly don't want Republicans controlling everything. And I don't want Democrats
No,
controlling. I think it's really healthy for a country and a society to have opposing views, but not super extreme. You don't want one side being too extreme ever.
no, you want balance. The,
Yeah.
the whole idea, I hate the party system, but this is what we have. So even if we had three and they were fairly balanced, but you have balance in this. But what's happened is I know in Oregon, the Democrats have cheated and redrawn the district lines so that it gives an upper hand to the left side of the aisle, the very far left. And so then the right folks, the people that are on the right side, they have no say. Their votes get watered down in the process. And then you have Oregon with no voter ID. I mean, no identification to go vote. I mean, you get used to that when you live there. But now in Montana, I get to show my driver's license and then they give me my ballot. And, that something has to change with that because you got to look at that and how long has it been enacted and how long has it been since we've had a balance in the executive branch of the state of Oregon.
Yeah,
And
it's gotten a little too extreme. By the way, I used to love when I was younger. I loved going to the polling place, showing my ID. I mean, we got to show ID for everything. I think it's ridiculous that somehow you don't have to show ID
yeah,
when you vote.
you remember back when they had blockbusters, I was running for office then and they're screaming at me, you can't ask for voter ID. And I said, I have to have voter ID to rent a $2.99 movie. And this isn't more important than a blockbuster movie to do that. What other things have you concerned in Oregon right now?
Well, I think the homeless the homeless is a major issue.
Is
And
that still a big problem in Eugene? Because I haven't been there for a little bit. Is it still?
yeah, it seems like they rotate them around. It's convenient. During the world track competition, I couldn't find any. It was crazy because I usually will have homeless around my office and down Coburg Road, and during the world track competition, like where did they go? It is they kind of move around town. It used to be that it wasn't that long ago. I'd drive down West 11th and there'd be a ton of homeless. Last time I was down West 11th, there wasn't as many. I don't think it is right for society to have somebody that has mental issues to leave them on the street. I came to my office a couple weeks ago and there was a man that was in the front of my office And I'm like, hey, buddy, got to go. I got patients coming. And I did give them coffee, and I gave them actually some Girl Scout cookies. And, but, uh, sometimes these people are talking to themselves. They smell like urine. That is not humane at all to keep people on the street. And we got to do something. It's not humane. We need to help them and nudge them. And we have to, hey, listen, you can't stay on the street. We don't want people out in the street dying. It's so inhumane what we do, letting them live out the streets.
Well, that's going to be expensive, but it's probably better than what we're doing now. And I've often thought, I remember back when I was living there, and I'd bring that up to people, is how is it compassionate to let people die on the streets and be drug addicted? That isn't compassion. That's actually horrible, I think.
Is it really expensive though, or do we already have? I mean, I heard a statistic one time, some numbers, and it was phenomenal the amount of money that California, Oregon, Washington spends on homeless. And I think sometimes there's organizations set up that they want to keep them on the street because they get all these grants. We got to be careful that we're not spending more money keeping people on the street than it would be to house people.
How do you feel about some of your school districts? I noticed they're also sending out notifications. I know Bethel did. I think 4J may have. I'm not sure about Springfield, but also fighting, telling their teachers that if ICE comes into the classroom, that not to. I mean, basically to break the law.
First of all, ICE is not going into a classroom. My buddy who works for ICE, they've been told you're not going to a school. The only way they go to a school is if there was a hardened criminal that was running from the law that was there. But they know the perception. They know that if they went to a school to round up Johnny, that it would be a political nightmare. They're not doing it. It's a scare tactic. It's a complete scare tactic. And they've been sending emails out to school districts, and they act like it's reality. And I think it's just to get people scared. They're not doing that. They're right now are focused on like actual criminals. People, there was a person in town, I think it was somewhere in Lane County, that had been drinking and driving, and kept on drinking and driving, and every time he get arrested was getting let out the back door. And we need to stop that. If you're, whether you're legal criminal or not, or illegal or you're not, you should still be held accountable. And if you're legal, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be living in America. It's a privilege to live here.
Do you find people in Oregon, are they more apt to talk about what they believe and, whether they like Trump or not? I remember when I lived there.
My patients do. My patients have MAGA hats. It was funny. I got to tell you, Rick. I accept everybody, and I have staff that's on the left side and the right side. I obviously hire. I'm not biased at all. And but I was interviewing this lady, and one of my employees came in with a T-shirt that said, "What did it say?" It says, "Who's your daddy?" or something like that, and it had a picture of Trump. And I looked at her, and I didn't know if this person I was hiring that was going to bother that person, right? Because if it bothers a patient, I let if it bothers the employee, I let them know, because we have people that come to my office that have MAGA hats, they have bumper stickers all over their cars that pro Trump. And if it bothers them, I just want to let them know, because I accept everybody. They have to understand that coming to an office that we have a lot of Trump supporters. But I got to tell you also, I do have the purple hair people that come, and they have a bumper stickers for Kamala Harris and Biden. I still love those patients. They're great. We have great conversations.
Isn't it weird that we live in a culture where that's like, you have to say, like, the culture has made it so, yeah, I voted for Donald Trump, but I do care about people, when that's so stupid. I mean, I'm not picking on you, because I'm saying there's this thing where, why is being a MAGA why is a person who wants to make America great again, why is that a bad thing?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that I think there are some patients that if they knew that I voted for Trump, they would probably transfer their records. It's too bad, because I treat everybody the same, and I care about everybody. And it used to be that you could, I actually voted for Clinton. Bill Clinton was like one of the first people I voted for back when I was in college. I accept everybody. And not to say, I mean, I am a Republican, but not to say that, that I would never vote Democrat. Like I vote based on somebody's character. And
So Angela writes in and says, it's very bad in Eugene. If you go down 99, it looks like a war zone, homeless everywhere. You have to look around and make sure no one is coming after you. Crime is through the roof, murder every week. Schools are beyond bad. Bad kids can't even read. My grandson's school can't give him extra help because there's so many English speaking students in the classes. They had to hire some more teachers that speak Spanish, but kids are not getting the help that they need.
Well, I'm going to say this too. This is kind of, I think a lot of the teachers, and my wife's a teacher, I think a lot of the teachers they don't struggle with the kids that speak Spanish. I think a lot of these kids that speak Spanish, they're sweet kids, and they they might have a difficulty with English. But I think it's these kids that don't have really good parents at home, and they come to school, and there's this acceptance that a kid can get on a desk, start throwing things, and you got to just let them have these tantrums, and you can't grab their hand, you can't force them to sit down. We've created these kids that are just unruly. I think they have parents that don't discipline, that are not strict at home. They let the kids do whatever they want, and they go to schools and they're just terrors. So I think for the most part, and I've heard this from a lot of teachers, it's these kids that are just out of control. And I wish parents would actually once in a while be a parent and don't condone your kids' behavior.
Well, and we've taken all the power away from adults. Because so here, this will blow you away, and maybe it won't, but it blew me away. I went to Home Depot, and I'm looking, and then start talking to the cashier, and somehow it came up about shoplifting, and she says, "Oh, we can't do anything about it." And I said, "What?" And she goes, "No, once they get past the curb at a Home Depot, you can't go after them. That's the company rule because they don't want lawsuits." So she said she was standing there one day, and there was a couple, and they were looking kind of shady, and the cart was full of tools, like power tools, thousands of dollars in tools. And the lady was talking, she looked nervous, and she said, and all of a sudden the lady just starts talking to me, and then her man, the guy, took the cart and just bolted for the door and went out and got right past the curb, and then he stopped because he knew there's nothing they could do. And here's the part that just pisses me off. You and I pay for that. I mean, it's not like Home Depot's going to eat that loss. They pass it on to us, not their fault, but that that people know that they can go in and that these places have no balls and they're going to do absolutely nothing about it. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, I don't think you meant that, but the Home Depots and stuff, it's not that they don't have balls. They just know they're going to be sued. And,
right. Well, that's true.
If somebody videotapes, the security guard going and tackling that person gets hurt, then there's a lawsuit for millions of dollars. And we need to change that. I'm sorry, but if you break into my house, I'm going to tell you you're going to be shot. And if you go into a Home Depot and you steal stuff, not that they should be shot, but they should get hurt. I'm sorry, but
go after them.
If they get tackled and their arms broken, so be it. We need men that will step up. And I got to tell you, a lot of men are not being men lately. If I'm at a store, I'm walking out, somebody's running by, I'm sorry, but it's going to be hard not to want to tackle that person.
Well, I remember a really good friend of mine from New Jersey, and she was in downtown Eugene. This has been, 5 years ago, but she said she was walking down the street, and some of the homeless people were whistling and screaming nasty things that they wanted to do to this woman. And she said she was so appalled. And she would fight them off. I mean, she's from New Jersey. She's tough. But she said, "You know what, Rick? I was screaming back at him saying, 'Stop it,' And she goes, there were people on the sidelines, men and women. No one came to her. And she goes, if I was in New Jersey, somebody would have come up and said, 'What you doing, man?' And to the guy, to whoever was doing it. She says, somebody would have stood up for me. And she goes, I'm in the streets of downtown Eugene, and nobody's saying a word. Everybody's walking away. And that's terrible."
I got to tell you, if that was in Roseburg, because I had lived in Roseburg a long time, and those are my peeps. And I have a lot of patients that are from Pleasant Hill, in Junction City, Elmira. Try that in those smaller towns, because men are men there, and they're not going to sit. They wouldn't tolerate that. And it's like, I don't know. I always tell people if you're a woman and your car breaks down in Roseburg, three men are going to pull over and they're going to be in trucks and they're going to help that lady fix it.
I'll fix it.
Yeah. And in Eugene, like I was sitting there one time, I pulled over because the person was pushing their car kind of up a hill. And I'm actually literally got out of my car to start pushing this car up the hill to get into a parking lot because I don't know, it died. And this fully fit mid-50s jogger male comes running by, looks at us, and just keeps on running. And I'm like, what? It's a bigger city, but I doubt that would happen, Rick, having some guys catcall a girl in small town Montana.
Right. Yeah, no. So what do you think people need to do? I mean,
well, I can tell you, there's a huge shift in with Trump being elected. I think there's a big shift in men wanting to be men and not putting up with this, and women also sitting there going, "Hey, we're not. I'm done with the extreme." It was a very small number of people that changed their society because they were to be blank that they weren't working. They would go to the town hall meetings, they go to the school board meetings, and they'd be vocal. But I think finally with COVID, I think enough people that had common sense kind of looked around and thought, this is getting crazy. And that's why Trump won, because even the people that are on the left, even people on the left looked at it and thought, hey, this is getting too crazy. I'll give you a quick story. My buddy, he lives in Idaho. His parents have always been they're retired, they're union workers, and after the last Trump State of the Union speech, I think that was a State of the Union speech. He had it like a couple of weeks ago, and with the behavior of the Democrats sitting there in the Senate with their little signs and it's so disrespectful. His mom and dad, who have always been Democrat, always voted Democrat, unions, said they were going to go and switch their party. And I don't think they're going to switch to Republican, but they were like, we're done. The Democrat Party doesn't represent us.
Did you see the statistics yesterday? CNN did a poll.
Are they still around?
Yeah, Chicken Noodle News. Yeah, they're barely around. But they did a poll, and 29% is the approval rating of the Democrat Party right now. 20, it's the lowest it's ever been. And NBC also did a poll, and I can't remember the number, but it was down about the same. And they said people are done with them because they have no message. They did a survey, and they said, and I'm not anti-Democrat. I'm anti this whole idea that all you can do is yell at people and call them names rather than have a discussion with them. And that's coming from that far left wing of the Progressive Party. But they said that in this study, they asked people, what are the most important things to you? And what are the most important things to the Democrat Party? The only thing that was on both lists was affordable health care. The Democrats had abortion, climate change, trans stuff, DEI, all that stuff. And on the other page, and these weren't Republicans necessarily, these are just people. And on the other side, it was the economy, inflation, housing prices. But the only thing that lined up, the only message that they had that regular people were even looking at was affordable health care. Now, what does that say about your party and where you're headed? Because that's just, you're out of touch with what real people are going through.
The thing is, when people can't afford their food because prices are outrageously high, they can't afford housing, they care less about the environment. And given, I got to tell you, I'm obviously a conservative. I care a lot about the environment, but also I'm realistic. Like I know we have to cut down trees. I know we have to fish, and I know this thing. But when you go to the gas tank and it costs you over $100 to fill your tank, or you go to I went to the store yesterday and I was like dumbfounded. Like things didn't just go up like 40%, like they said. Some of the things have doubled and tripled. It's outrageous. I feel really bad for somebody like a single mom that is on maybe making minimum wage. I don't know how they live.
Somebody's writes on here, Wyden and Merkley are doubling down on their leftist agenda. But I think a lot of the Democrat leaders they're just, and even in communities. is just saying, nope, we're going to double down on this stuff. And, there's ways to fight people, but you don't throw judges in their face every time they're making a
No.
decision. I realize they're scared right now, but everything, I mean, if you look at what's changing, it's going in a good direction, but not to them. But it's a smaller amount of people that are there doing that. But man, they're vocal,
It's they can't look at anything that Trump does and say it's good. And I don't like that, because I got to tell you, like, I don't care whether it's Biden or Obama. Every president does things that are good, and that should be acknowledged. And
right.
You can't just everything Trump does now. They hate it, even if it has good intention. I'm sure they don't want him stopping the war in Ukraine and Russia. It's ridiculous.
Right. I mean, do we like to look at it and go, should we figure out a way to stop the blood and bath from these people from dying? And all they can do is jump on Ukraine. And I was listening to a podcast this morning that kind of went, I don't know, man. I don't know. I wish, listen to that. Now I will, I'll criticize Trump. I think his trying to impeach the judge who tried to stop the Venezuelans from having to go home. We got bigger fish to fry than this judge. What we need to do is figure out how the hell this is happening and stop that from happening. And,
but I think by Trump doing that, at least suggesting that, I think what it does is it puts other judges on notice. Hey, you can't just you can't dictate from the bench what the president does. And if you do, you might be impeached. And I like that. I think it's just, as a country, we voted for Trump and we want to see what he can do. And everything that he does lately, a judge is saying, no, you can't do it. And it's getting really frustrating. And I don't think if it was reversed, I don't think we did the same thing to Biden. I don't think everything that Biden did, we sat there every single day having a judge say, no, you can't do that.
No, and in fact, they had the numbers, and I can't remember what they were, but I think it was only done like 13 or 14 times in Biden's whole time in office, and they've done that. They did that in one day to Trump. I think Trump's up to 90 some or something. Razor and Game says, why doesn't the Democrat Party get on board with Doge audit? I'm sure there are things they could find as well that need examined. That's to me too, is you would think that here's something we can have some common ground, is to say, we want to stop wasting money. No, we don't want to find it. And then they go, we need to get auditors, real auditors. Well, your real auditors you have didn't do the job. Now you've got one of the brightest minds in the world bringing in people. And then they go, well, they're going to have access to our Social Security numbers. There's 10,000 federal employees that have access to your Social Security numbers, and they all had to go through security clearance, just like the Doge people did. So they're on the same level, and they just don't want it. But who doesn't want waste found?
And I got to tell you, even if it was, if it's waste that the Republicans are doing, I want it found.
I do too.
If there's corruption, whether Democrat, Independent, or Republican, I want it found and I want it stopped. So I think that everybody right now should be like super happy that we want to stop wasting money. It's outrageous how much money we're blowing on these really ridiculous.
Well, in some of those, I mean, like some of the stuff that they were reporting that was in the
USAID.
Was actually the USAID was actually run by a bunch of, and there was Republicans really super involved in that. I mean, it's crazy.
We gotta clean all the fat, get all the fat out of government. There's so much money, and I remember when they first started, Elon Musk thought, hey, we can probably save $1 trillion. And now he's like, maybe we can do 2. We could possibly cut all the waste and have a balanced budget. And then we start spending properly. And it wouldn't be nice if we could actually get down our debt. I think it's super irresponsible. And it goes to show you these career politicians, they don't know how to run a business. Trump ran a business, and you have to cut waste.
Well, then people say, yeah, but he went bankrupt. Well, most businesses fail more than they succeed, and that's how you succeed, is by failing. I mean,
Yeah, it's something that he did several times, I think, and he used the system. And I know I've never gone bankrupt, but I know people that have, and I know businesses have, and some things get out of control. And there's certain things, things happen. You know, there's quite a few businesses that went bankrupt after COVID. That wasn't their fault. So I feel bad for anybody that has to go bankrupt, but bankruptcy's set up so to help businesses survive. Uh, and grow and not always have to shut down.
do I was talking to people online the other day, and they were saying, I wrote a blog and I said, I have hope. I think Oregon, because there was not one state that didn't vote more red. I mean, Oregon still was blue, but
Yeah.
more red than they've ever voted before. And that doesn't mean I don't want everybody to be a Republican.
Yeah.
I'm an
Neither do
honest
I.
voter, but I want people to be making decisions not based on party affiliation, but something like what's good for us as a people.
Yeah.
And how can finding the waste be not good for the people of America? Or instead doing what we've always done is like Obama saying we're going to do something and then not. Or I think the reason Trump's taking it, just going for it, is because if he starts messing with Congress, then, I think they'll start, oh, well, we need to over-examine this and make sure we don't hurt so-and-so's feelings, because they're all corrupt politicians. And I'd rather have Elon Musk looking through those than anybody I know in politics in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, because he's not driven by money. And I read his book.
Need it.
No, and well, at one point he sold all of his assets, got rid of his big mansions. And I think his daughter was like, "Hey, you say you're sitting there for the world, to help the world, and you have these mansions and these cars," and he got rid of like everything. He doesn't care.
Doesn't it crack you up? And I think it's funny when people say he's going to have access to my Social Security number, and it's like, this is the richest man in the world, and he doesn't give a shit about Rick Dancer's bank account. That's like pocket change to him. He's not going to go, oh yeah, we got Rick's Social Security number. Go!
Well, let's be real. Like if you go on the dark web, I bet you everybody's Social Security numbers out there. Yeah, it's the least of our at least of our worries.
So, Michael, give us some parting intellectual. What do you hope people do? Inspire people to do what?
Inspiring. I can't inspire myself. No, I think we're changing.
Let me get you this. Let me give you an idea too.
Yeah.
Because you took a huge risk. You stood up for what you believed in, and people thought that it would destroy your business, and in fact, it made your business better. I mean, there's a positive to this. Yes, some people it's gonna hurt, but in the end, that's where I'm kind of going.
Well, I'd say I've never apologized for anything I've said. It's the best thing I've ever done for my business. Advertising back in the blue. I ran an ad last year, said, "Hey, I was going to vote for Trump." Those things, I think that's not going to be as effective in the future because people are allowed to say that they voted for Trump now. But I'd say just speak your mind, and it actually helped me better than anything. And I hear more and more people speaking their mind lately, and I think that that's a wonderful thing. That's what we need. We need a society that whether you voted for Biden or Kamala Harris or Trump, you're not going to be canceled. And I think that's what we're going towards.
The other one thing you just reminded me what I was thinking of before that too is, I get a lot of comments from people and they're saying, well, the Republicans, Trump just wants to help the rich. And that is such an old Democrat bullshit line. I mean, it's so dumb because if anybody does their research, you will understand that the Democrat Party has become the party of the elite. That's where the money is. And Kamala Harris in 60 days raised $1.5 billion. And Trump, she had far more money than he did.
Well,
so I
gotta tell you people that make money, because I've made some money in my life. The more money that we keep, the more money we make, the more money we spend. Okay. The more charities we do. I spend a lot of money on charities. And I also take care of my staff more than a lot of people. Like I really do. I might be a little different, but I like to share what I have. And so I'm the major sponsor of NBA. There's a lot of things I do. And I also turn around and I provide great benefits to all my employees. it's not most people that make money turn around and spend it. They give back to their communities. I read somewhere one time Republicans donate a lot more money than Democrats. And it's funny because Democrats always tout, like, hey, we should give more. But I think the Republicans are the ones that actually give a lot more donations out.
There's a lot of former timber barons who used to give millions, and they would not let you tell anyone. They didn't go out and have to make a fanfare about it. They just gave money. And that was part of back in the culture. I remember doing telethons and stuff. And back in that culture, the Donna Woolies and these people that are former, they're long gone now, but they were the people who helped settle Eugene in those years. And they knew their responsibility was to give money. And they were those wealthy people that these people keep screaming about, when it was like, how much money, they're giving to nonprofits and, different organizations.
I know quite a few really wealthy people, and they have given major contribution gifts to the charities, and nobody knows. And they don't want, you're right, they don't want people to know.
Right. They do it. It's because they do it out of the kindness of their heart, not because they need a big fanfare about it.
The more money I get to keep and don't pay in taxes, the more money we make, the more money we spend, and the better it is for the economy, better for my patients, better for my staff.
Michael Bratland, thank you, doctor, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Does that feel good? Just kind of release that just a little bit.
I had no idea. I honestly had no idea what you're going to ask me. So I'm like, okay.
Well, I think that's fun. And there's a ton of people on here commenting, so you can go back and look at that and making comments about it and stuff. So,
I definitely won't watch my video. I hate my voice.
All right. You take care of yourself, my friend.
Thanks.
See you later. So, yeah, Dr. Bratland's good friend, good man, very brave. And he's gotten me in enough trouble, and I went willingly. But you guys, I think that's the point. Is I think we're so afraid, and yes, that that it's damaged some of my business by me standing up and believing what but at the end of the day, you're doing the right thing because you believe in the truth. And I am not anti-Democrat. I am probably more in some ways. I ran as a Republican once, and they were meaner to me than the Democrat Party. What I'm against is people not allowing conversation. I'm against censorship. I'm against people. Oh, and I get people on my page. Just so you guys know, on Facebook now, they do censor. They're highlighting. They hide comments if they think they're too rude, and then I get blamed for that. I don't believe in censorship. I believe in freedom. I believe everybody should have a voice, even when I don't agree with them. But I sure as hell am not going to shut my mouth because you don't agree with me and you're going to call me nasty names. The more nasty names you call me, it just shows your lack of verbal intelligence. And that is no reflection on me. But we are not going to be quiet. And I think that's the only way you're going to ever take Oregon back, is if you start speaking up, not yelling, not screaming in the streets, not burning people's houses down like they did, like BLM did, burning businesses down. No, but just in a public square, if somebody says, what, you support Trump? Say, yeah, I do. You support Doge? Yeah, I do. It's our opinion. It has value. And when you start speaking it out, there's a great line in the Bible, that life and death is in the power of the tongue. So speak life into things, speak positive. Yes, I like what they're doing, and let the chips fall where they may. Because you know what? They can only scream for so long. And then after a while, they get tired of you and bored of you, and they leave you. And I gain like 4,000 people and I lose 5. And my numbers were at 200,000 views a month. Now they're at close to 4 million. So don't worry about it. It's just what it is. Oh my gosh. Hey, so take this, if you would, share it on your page. Just hit the share button under there if you're on, one of those channels. If you have comments, people can keep commenting on here. I usually go back and look at them. I don't usually comment too much because it can drive you crazy after a while. But again, and if you're looking for a dentist who gives a damn about people, Dr. Michael Bratland, Chris Dental, Eugene, He'll take care of you. He's the best crown maker in the world, and they're all American crowns. So you don't find any foreign materials in what he's doing with his crown work. All made. In fact, I think it's made here in Oregon too, or Idaho maybe. But yeah, and he's just a good guy, and he treats people well, and he's not afraid to tell you what he thinks. I like that in a guy. All right, you guys be good. I will see you tomorrow night. Have a really special interview. A guy named Jay Mattis, and he had to have his legs amputated when he was a young boy, and he'll tell you about that. And now he's playing basketball, and he has a fundraiser. And I said, Jay, I'd love you to come on and tell your story to people. And so he'll be on tomorrow night at 4:00. And then on Thursday, we have another show. We don't usually do 3 shows a week, but a lot of news going on. There's a gas facility at the Lane County dump, and people are really against it. And I'm going to have somebody who is against it here to talk about that, the campaign to stop this and what Lane County is doing. All right. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night. Thank you. Thanks for being here. It's nice talking to you. Love your interaction. Love you guys that you're talking. That's good.